The rest of 2019 is going to be a jam-packed period of PlayStation 4 game releases, and in today's video, I want to highlight the top 10 upcoming PlayStation 4 console exclusives for the rest of 2019. Yes, the PS4 has been built on quality exclusives, and even in the latter 4 months of the year, there are still a lot of compelling exclusives to come. Now, I did specify console exclusives, so these are games that some of them might appear on PC, a lot of them are just hard exclusives, but whatever the case may be, as far as consoles are concerned, current generation platforms, for now, they are only confirmed for the PlayStation 4. So without further ado, let's get right into it, and let's kick things off without a doubt being the highlight of the fall season in terms of PS4 exclusives, and that is, of course, Kojima Productions' Death Stranding. This is a game we've been waiting on for a very long time, I didn't even think this game was gonna make it in 2019. Rather, I thought that The Last of Us Part 2 was gonna be that big exclusive for the holiday season, but lo and behold, Death Stranding managed to get through development, and now it'll be released on November 8th. Now, we have gotten some clarity in terms of what exactly this game is, but at the same time, we've seen more footage of the game coming out of Gamescom that it's also made it a little bit more confusing. I guess that's to be expected with Kojima. We'll see how the game turns out. I mean, there's a lot of mystery surrounding the game, but if you go back to when the Metal Gear games first started, who could have imagined that back then Metal Gear would have become what it was? Now, am I saying that Death Stranding is going to spawn out and become an IP like Metal Gear? That would be a little bit hard to fathom given that Hideo Kojima at his age, and could he keep going and creating compelling game after compelling game for another 15-20 years? Whatever the case may be, I'm very interested in checking out Death Stranding and seeing how the game turns out. I'm excited to see the entirety of the game because this is probably the most interesting game release of the rest of the year, and probably the game release with the most question marks attached to it. With games like Borderlands 3 and all of these other major titles, Call of Duty, we kind of know how it's going to turn out. With Death Stranding, I know that people are expecting quality, but at the same time, we don't know exactly what we're getting ourselves into just on the basis that it is Kojima. And with this being a brand new IP, with it having a massive backing, there is a lot of potential for this to just wow everybody. We'll find out as it is scheduled to be released on November 8th. Next up, another Sony published exclusive that I'm very excited for is coming from Pixel Opus, and that is Concrete Genie. Concrete Genie is a very visually artistic title, and the best part about Concrete Genie is the fact that it is being released at a budget price point, $29.99 instead of your typical $59.99 price point, so half the price of a regular release. Now, this does look to be a smaller experience than a typical AAA release, but nonetheless, it looks very good in its own right. The story takes place in a small town named Denska, which has been mostly abandoned and polluted. A young boy named Ash regularly doodles in his notebook. A group of bullies steal his book, rip out the pages, and scatters them throughout the city. Ash goes on a quest to recover his pages. Along this quest, he discovers a paintbrush that can bring his creations to life. Ash must overcome the bullies and bring life back to his hometown. It's got some very interesting gameplay mechanics as well, as you control Ash and use the DualShock 4 motion controls to create landscapes in the town of Denska. This is one that could put Pixel Opus more so on the map, and I'm hoping it turns out to be a pretty great game. This is one that I think could surprise a lot of people. It'll be dropping October 8th. Next up, here's one that I am personally very excited for, and that is the remaster upgraded version of Katherine in Katherine Full Body Edition. Now, saying that this is a remaster might not be giving it enough credit, because when you think of the word remaster, you generally just think, okay, it'll have a little bit better visuals, but for the most part, it's the same game. But in the case of Katherine Full Body, no, there is a lot of content added. There's a third love interest named Rin who becomes Vincent's new neighbor, as well as the pianist at the Stray Sheep. Rin's involvement in the story is going to be an integral part, adding a lot of new animated cutscenes as well as a ton of new endings on top of that, so there's a lot of content added to the game. However, at the end of the day, this was a game that released all the way back in 2011, and it being priced at $59.99, yes, all of that additional content is being added, but I think if they priced it at $39.99 or even $49.99, it would do a little bit better. At a full $60, it is a little bit hard of a price to justify, but personally speaking, I love the game back in 2011, and I'm very excited to check out the game once again. So it's one that I personally will definitely be picking up. And if you never played Katherine and you enjoy more quirky games, it's definitely one worth a check out. Katherine Full Body will be dropping on September 3rd. Next up, here's a game that not too many people are talking about, the Pathless. The Pathless is coming from the guys over at Giant Squid, the same guys that created Abzu, And in Pathless, you become the hunter, a master of archery who travels to a mystical island to dispel a curse of darkness that grips the world. Forge a connection with your eagle companion as you hunt corrupted spirits, but be careful not to become the hunted yourself. Explore misty forests full of secrets, solve puzzles in ancient ruins, and test your skill in epic battles. The bond with your eagle and the fate of the world hang in the balance. Visually, this game looks to be absolutely stunning, and again, Giant Squid did a great job with Abzu, and I think from a presentation standpoint, it's harkening back to that a little bit. However, it does look to be a little bit bigger budget, and I'm very excited to check out the Pathless. We don't have an official release date for it yet, but it is noted that it will be coming out later this year. Next up, here's one that not a lot of people are talking about. Monkey King Hero is back. This is a game coming out of a Chinese studio and based on the popular movie. And it notes the curtain rises on yet another never-before-seen Chinese myth, a new saga in the journey to the West based on the original CG movie that became an unprecedented box office smash in China. This unique episode will be playable in an exciting kung fu action-adventure game. The game features 10 completely different levels full of fast-paced action, lush environments full of secrets, and epic boss battles. Take control of the Monkey King and engage in world-famous Chinese kung fu full of combos, hilarious finishers, QTE counters, and a plethora of items and skills. Monkey King Hero is Back will be released at a budget price point of $39.99, and it is dropping on October 17. Next up, here is one that I am personally also very excited for. The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel has been one of my favorite JRPG franchises, and we are going to get the third game in this series with Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 3 come October 22nd. Now, Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2 were both released on the PlayStation 4 earlier this year. Prior to that, they had been released on a plethora of other platforms, PS Vita, PlayStation 3, PC, but now these three games are all going to be available on the PlayStation 4. Now, this is a series where you want to play the game sequentially, so play the first game, then play the second game, and then jump into the third game. The first two games do encompass kind of like the first half of the story, and with Trails of Cold Steel 3, it does kick off something a little bit differently. However, all of it is connected and the main character is carried over in all three games. Don't want to get into the story all too much just to avoid spoilers, but what I will say is the story is incredibly engaging. It has an awesome roster of characters. All of them get a lot of character development, and a lot of that is really in the first game. The first game is a tad bit slower because they're really trying to establish all of the characters. However, halfway through that game, it gets racing as well. And going into the second game, it is high speed the whole way through, and Trails of Cold Steel 3 will be hitting the PlayStation 4 exclusively on October 22nd. Next up, here's another exclusive that so many people are excited for, and that is MediEvil. Yes, MediEvil is getting remade, and it's making its triumphant comeback come October 25th. Relive the original adventure on PlayStation 4. The beloved fan favorite has been completely remade from the grave up, blending classic gameplay with stunning visuals, all in eye-popping 4K. You'll step into the bones of Sir Daniel Fortesque, a slightly inept and long-dead knight accidentally resurrected by his greatest enemy, the evil sorcerer Zarok. With a second chance to foil his greatest foe, Dan will once again set out to save the kingdom of Glaumer and earn his place as the true hero. Really happy about this remake because MediEvil is a franchise that so many people have wanted to see make a comeback. It being released at $29.99 right before Halloween, the timing couldn't be any better, and I'm really hoping that it delivers from a critical sense and a commercial sense, and hopefully it'll spawn more MediEvil projects in the future. Next up, I do have to give a mention to Yakuza 4. We now know that Yakuza 3, Yakuza 4, and Yakuza 5 are making their way to the PlayStation 4. Yakuza 3 has already been released on the PlayStation Store, and Yakuza 4 is coming later this year in October. Yakuza is a franchise that has made a considerable impact this generation with Yakuza Kiwami, Yakuza Kiwami 2, Yakuza 0, Yakuza 6, and soon all of the Yakuza games are going to be available on the PlayStation 4. If you've already been invested into this franchise, you're probably super stoked that all of these games are coming stateside, and if you've yet to try out the games, I wouldn't jump in with Yakuza 4, rather I would play Yakuza 0 and then work your way up from there. But Yakuza 4, another great game in the series, will be coming to the PlayStation 4, and that's due out on October 29th, and it's making sizable improvements as well, 720p to 1080p, 30 FPS to 60 FPS, and it's retaining all of the fundamentals that you know and love about Yakuza. Next up, here's a major franchise making a comeback, Shenmue III. Yes, we we've been waiting quite a while for Shenmue III. The game was originally announced all the way back at Sony's E3 conference back in 2015. 4 years and change later, Shenmue III is finally scheduled to be released, and of course, we've been waiting a lot longer than that if you're going back to the release of Shenmue II. This is a game that is very story reliant, so if you're not familiar with Shenmue, I'm sure they'll do some stuff to familiarize yourself with the game within Shenmue 3. However, there is a Shenmue 1 and 2 collection available on the PlayStation 4, and I would recommend you to check that out. Even if those games haven't aged the best, they're still quality titles, and the story is intact. I'm a little skeptical in how Shenmue 3 is going to turn out. It's been a long development time. It was a Kickstarted game, and sometimes Kickstarted games turn out well, and then sometimes they're complete train wrecks. In the case of Shenmue 3, I'm just hoping it is going to deliver, and we do know that Shenmue 3 is not going to be concluding the story. Hopefully there are more Shenmue games. As long as Shenmue 3 isn't an absolute train wreck, I imagine that a Shenmue 4, a Shenmue 5, and hopefully Shenmue as a franchise will just persist in gaming going into the future. Whatever the case may be, a lot of questions will be answered with the release of Shenmue 3 come November 19th. And lastly, I did want to mention a highly compelling PlayStation VR title. The long-delayed PSVR exclusive in Golem is finally set to launch this fall. This is a game that's been in development for quite a while, however, it looks really good and I have high hopes for it. In Golem, you take on the role of Twine, an adventurous kid who has been left critically injured by a serious accident. While you can't leave your bed, you develop an extraordinary ability to create and control large stone golems and see the world through their eyes. You can use your golems to explore an enormous abandoned city, collecting treasure and artifacts while unraveling a deeper mystery and discovering the connection between the city and your family. Designed from the ground up for VR, the game also has an innovative free movement control scheme and intense one-to-one melee combat that sees you feint, block, and counterattack your enemies. I've been touting it for quite a while. PlayStation VR is getting a robust roster and library of games. You look at all of the games from a wide variety of different genres. It has an incredibly deep library of games, and Golem looks to only be adding to that. Again, no official release date at this point, but it has been confirmed that it will be coming later this fall. And that's gonna conclude this video. Again, the fall is stacked with a lot of game releases. However, if you just look at it from a PlayStation 4 gamer standpoint with console exclusives, it is looking so good. Of course, Dead Stranding is going to be a major release, and I'm incredibly interested to see how that turns out. MediEvil making a comeback. Katherine Full Body Edition is going to be fantastic, even though I think $59.99 is a little expensive for that. I'm still very excited for it. Concrete Genie has a lot of potential. Monkey King Hero is back as a quirky title. Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 3 for JRPG fans and those of you that played the prior two titles, that is going to be a big release and a lot of titles in a very short period of time. But nonetheless, let us know what PlayStation 4 console exclusives you're the most excited for going into the fall. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.